Hello everyone, Lily the Deck Harlot here. Welcome to my channel. For those returning viewers, welcome back. And today I will be doing part 2 of my mass market deck collection for tarot. Here is the Tarot of the Vampyres by Ian Daniels. And this is another deck that people like to use for shadow work. It is dark. It can be creepy, but the art is actually, the art is different than the Deviant Moon. Like, this is more realist. And, well, as you can imagine, there's a vampire in every card. So that is the Tarot of Vampyres by Ian Daniels. This is a deck I like quite a lot, actually. And here are the backs. And the art is simple, which is why I like it. It's only 3 colors: gold, purple, and white. But it's a very good reader for me. I use it quite a lot when I'm combining decks in a reading. And I like the messages. So that is the Everyday Tarot. Here's a little kit like the other one called the Complete Kit. And this is another one it's a small deck. And the designs are okay. They're a little bit childish. And as I was going through my collection, I actually forgot I had this deck. And it's not one that I've used very often. So, and it's one of those decks, actually I know here that we can find it at Indigo for, I think it's around $10. It's not very expensive. So, this is the Complete Tarot kit. The Raven's Prophecy. This is another deck that's a favorite of mine. I like that the image are very, again, it's one of those decks where they simplified the imagery down to its basic meaning. And this is also one of the decks that I'll reach out for often because I like it so much. So, Raven's Prophecy. Next on my list that I'll show you is the Margaret Peterson Tarot. And this is an unusual deck, artsy. It's basically a series of paintings that are a little bit abstract, and it's one of those decks as well that you need to sit down and look at the image. It's a good one for meditation and path working, because the images, what you see in the card, is not always apparent at first glance. Like, you have to sit down and try and figure out what the image, which it actually has, because some of these designs are quite subtle. Oh, and here's my favorite deck in the card, the Lovers, where I only see one person, but it could be separated. So then I have this one here, the Herbcrafter's Tarot. Now, I'm currently studying this deck. Here are the backs. And as much as I like the art, it is not one of my favorite decks. Just because I find it so hard to understand. The guidebook, I wish the guidebook was a little bit more expansive. It's, I guess, they were limited with space, so they put what they could in. But I wish there was more explanation on why they picked certain plants to go with that particular card. Because from what I've seen so far, it looks to me like they shoehorned the plant to go with the card. And some of the meanings they came up with, well, not some of the meanings, but the reason why they picked the card is quite a stretch. But it is a beautiful deck, but not sure if I'll be keeping it in my collection. So this is the Herbcrafter's Tarot. So here is the White Sage Tarot. And these are the backs. And this is an animal-based deck. And the art is kind of soft. And what I like about this deck is that the ribbons that you see here often mean that certain chakras are involved. So it's interesting to me that we can use this deck for chakras. So it can be a little bit of a pippish deck. That's a cute image. So there's the White Sage Tarot. Then I have the Vanessa Tarot. And this one is interesting because all the images are modern takes on the card meaning. Like they're people, women actually, that you'll find in today's world doing, like this one. She looks like she's a lady out for lunch. And I don't think I don't think there are no guys in this deck. It's all girls. But it's a good reader for me. And some of the images just strike my fancy. So there's the Vanessa Tarot. Then I'm going to show you two decks that I have by Blaque. And this one is the Golden Tarot. And it's a collage deck. Where Kat took ancient art and repurposed it into tarot card meanings. And it does have some religious overtones because of the time period she chose. But me personally, it doesn't bother me. So So I find that it is a good reader for me. So there's a Golden Tarot. And then the other one I have by her is this one here, which is the Touchstone Tarot. And for some reason, I don't like this deck as much. So here are the backs. She took art from a different period. And for me, somehow this art, you know, what she did here falls flat for me. I don't know if it's the pose of the people in it or the color of their skin. But like the readings I do with it are okay, but I don't think I connect so well with this deck as I do with the Golden Thatll. So there's the Touchstone. Then I have this one here, which is the Osho Zen Tarot. And I actually got this deck in a trade. And I'm currently reading the book. So, but I like what they did with the images. It is different, and they did change some of the meaning, not the meanings, but some of the names associated with the card. And I'm always surprised at how many people actually learn to read tarot with the Osho Zen. Not that it's a bad deck. You know, and it does have interesting art. So there's the Osho Zen. The next one is the Good Thatll by Colette Byron Reid. So I ended up buying this deck in one of the sales by Hay House actually not that long ago. And I had seen someone at a tarot conference using it. And I figured this could be a good deck for those times when you need a hug deck, because the images are quite soft. The art is a little bit surreal. And there's I can't see any images in here that are too harsh. So, and it's, you know, it's one of those decks as well that I just like the art. So there's the Good Thatll. The Mystical Cat is the next deck that I'm going to show you. And there is nothing light and fluffy about this deck. It's one of my favorites. And it's one of those decks that, even though it is an animal deck, I wouldn't be reading with kids just because some of the cards do portray the situation as it is. And this is one of my favorite strength cards. But this is, like, for example, I don't know if I can find it right now. Of course I can't. Like this card here. It's, you know, it's not an easy card to look at. So this is the Mystical Cat. And then I have another cat tarot. and it's this one here that came out last year. And this one is a little bit more lighthearted. So these are the backs. And although I do like the art in this deck, I don't think the messages are as clear as other decks. But it is, you know, it's a cute little deck. And I wish the symbols were a little bit clearer. So there's the Kettle. And the next one I'm going to show you is this one here, which is the 8 coins Tattoo Tarot. And this is, I like the art in this deck. And it is quite clear. The images are clear, I mean, and the line work is nice and crisp. So there's the 8 coins tattoo. And here's another tattoo art deck, which is the Bonfire Tarot. And I call this my hippie deck. Because the vibes in that deck are what I remember from 60s and 70s. Which, you know, it's funny to me that this is, you know, it's being revived and coming back. And these cards are quite busy. But you can get a lot out, you can get a lot of information out of them. So there's the Bonfire Tarot. And the last deck I'm going to show you in my collection for the mass market is this one here, and it's the Marielle Tarot by Mary White. This is the first edition. These are the backs. And this is a popular deck with people that they use for shadow work. And sometimes the art I find from one card to the other doesn't always match. If you're interested, Sanskrit Blue on YouTube is doing a series on the Marielle right now that's absolutely excellent. Now I believe the second edition that they came out with, they've removed the borders. But I actually think the borders add something. I'm not sure if I'd like to trim my deck here. So that's the Marielle. So this was part 2 of my mass market tarot deck collection. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or feedback, please leave a message below. I'll be happy to respond. And I'll end this here by saying, have a nice day, and until next time.